Why is it that two people can have the same job, the same salary, and the same opportunities? Yet one retires a multimillionaire while the other dies broke. It's not luck. It's not even about how hard they work. It's about a mental operating system that most people don't even know they have. Today, we're going to look at the psychology of being broke and the 3 mental traps that keep 99% of people in a cycle of financial struggle. Welcome back to Wealth Theory. Our previous video on why 99% of people stay poor went viral because it touched on a painful truth. But today, we're going deeper. We're moving beyond the math and into the mind. If you want to change your bank account, you first have to change your brain. Let's dive in. The first trap is the scarcity loop. When you grow up without much, your brain develops a survival instinct. You focus on the now because the future feels uncertain. This leads to panic spending or fear-based saving. You're so worried about losing what you have that you never take the calculated risks required to grow. To the 99%, money is a tool for survival. To the 1%, money is a tool for freedom. Most people are addicted to cheap dopamine. You buy the latest phone or the expensive car to feel successful today, at the expense of being wealthy tomorrow. This is the psychology of signaling. You're trying to look rich to people who aren't even watching, while your net worth stays at zero. Wealth is what you don't see. It's the assets working in the background while you live simply. The human brain is wired for safety, not success. Being comfortable in a 9-to-5 job you hate feels safer than the uncertainty of starting a business or investing. But in today's economy, comfort is the most dangerous place to be. The 99% prioritize security. The 1% prioritize growth. If your daily habits don't make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, you aren't growing. So how do you break the cycle? Stop consuming content that promotes hustle without. Why is it that two people can have the same job, the same salary, and the same opportunities? Yet one retires a multimillionaire while the other dies broke. It's not luck. It's not even about how hard they work. It's about a mental operating system that most people don't even know they have. Today, we're going to look at the psychology of being broke and the 3 mental traps that keep 99% of people in a cycle of financial struggle. Welcome back to Wealth Theory. Our previous video on why 99% of people stay poor went viral because it touched on a painful truth. But today, we're going deeper. We're moving beyond the math and into the mind. If you want to change your bank account, you first have to change your brain. Let's dive in. The first trap is the scarcity loop. When you grow up without much, your brain develops a survival instinct. You focus on the now because the future feels uncertain. This leads to panic spending or fear-based saving. You're so worried about losing what you have that you never take the calculated risks required to grow. To the 99%, money is a tool for survival. To the 1%, money is a tool for freedom. Most people are addicted to cheap dopamine. You buy the latest phone or the expensive car to feel successful today, at the expense of being wealthy tomorrow. This is the psychology of signaling. You're trying to look rich to people who aren't even watching, while your net worth stays at zero. Wealth is what you don't see. It's the assets working in the background while you live simply. The human brain is wired for safety, not success. Being comfortable in a 9-to-5 job you hate feels safer than the uncertainty of starting a business or investing. But in today's economy, comfort is the most dangerous place to be. The 99% prioritize security. The 1% prioritize growth. If your daily habits don't make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, you aren't growing. So how do you break the cycle? Stop consuming content that promotes hustle without purchase. Your first $1,000 should always be invested in your own skills. That is the only investment with a 10,000% return. The 99% focus on the obstacle. The 1% focus on the goal. Which one are you? If this video opened your eyes, hit that like button and subscribe to Wealth Theory for more. And if you haven't seen it yet, check out our video on the silent wealth killers to see what else is holding you back. I'll see you in the next one. Most people believe being broke is just about not having enough money. But what if the real problem isn't your bank account? It's your mindset. The truth is, nearly 99% of people never get rich. Not because they lack opportunities, but because they're trapped in a psychological loop they don't even realize exists. a loop of fear, comfort, and invisible habits that silently keep them stuck in the same place year after year. From a young age, we are programmed to play it safe. Go to school, get a job, earn a salary, and avoid risks. This system creates security, but it also builds a mindset that fears failure more than it desires success. When people think about starting a business, investing, or building something of their own, their brain immediately jumps to worst-case scenarios. What if I lose money? What if I fail? That fear keeps them frozen. And staying still is exactly why they never move forward. Another hidden trap is short-term thinking. Broke people are often forced to think about survival, paying bills, covering expenses, getting through the month. This constant pressure makes it almost impossible to think long-term. Wealth, however, is built on patience, delayed gratification, and consistent decisions over time. The rich think in years, while most people are stuck thinking in days. Then there's the comfort zone, the most dangerous place for growth. Even if someone is unhappy with their financial situation, they often choose familiarity over change. Why? Because the unknown feels more painful than the current struggle. So they stay in the same job, follow the same routine, and repeat the same habits, expecting different results. Social environment also plays a massive role. If everyone around you is living paycheck to paycheck, it becomes your normal. You stop questioning it. You stop aiming higher. Instead of being inspired, you unconsciously adopt the same beliefs and limitations. As the saying goes, you become the average of the people you spend the most time with. And let's not ignore the biggest psychological factor of all: identity. Most people don't see themselves as wealthy. Deep inside, they believe money isn't for people like me. And that belief shapes every decision they make. They don't take risks, they don't invest in themselves, and they don't pursue bigger opportunities because it doesn't match their internal identity. But here's the powerful truth. Your financial life changes the moment your mindset changes. When you start thinking long-term, embracing calculated risks, surrounding yourself with growth-minded people, and seeing yourself as someone capable of success, everything begins to shift. Wealth isn't just built in the bank. It's built in the mind first. So if you're tired of being stuck, don't just focus on making more money. Focus on becoming a different thinker. Because the psychology of being broke isn't permanent, but escaping it requires awareness, discipline, and the courage to think differently than 99% of people. But there's another layer most people never talk about: the addiction to instant gratification. In today's world, everything is designed to give you quick pleasure. Social media, fast food, online shopping, all of it trains your brain to choose what feels good now instead of what builds your future. Saving money feels boring. Investing feels slow. Learning new skills feels hard. So people choose comfort today, not realizing they are trading away their freedom tomorrow. Debt is another psychological chain that keeps people stuck. It's not just a financial burden, it's a mental one. When you owe money, your decisions become reactive instead of strategic. You stop thinking about opportunities and start thinking about survival. And the more you rely on debt to maintain your lifestyle, the deeper the trap becomes. It creates a cycle where you work to pay off the past instead of building the future. There's also a powerful concept called learned helplessness. After facing repeated failures or financial struggles, many people subconsciously give up. They start believing that no matter what they do, nothing will change. This belief is dangerous because it kills action. And without action, nothing improves. It's not that opportunities don't exist. It's that people stop trying to see them. Another mistake is confusing activity with progress. Many people are busy all day, working, scrolling, talking, planning. But at the end of the day, nothing actually moves them closer to wealth. Being busy feels productive, but real progress comes from focused, intentional actions that create value over time. The wealthy understand this difference. They don't just work hard, they work smart and with direction. Let's talk about income versus assets. Most people are taught to focus on earning money through a job. But jobs trade time for money, and time is limited. The wealthy focus on building assets, things that make money even when they're not working. Businesses, investments, digital products, these are systems that generate income over time. But building assets requires patience and effort upfront, which most people are not willing to commit to. Fear of judgment is another invisible barrier. People worry about what others will think if they fail, start something new, or step outside the norm. This fear keeps them small. They choose approval over growth. But the truth is, every successful person was once judged, doubted, or misunderstood. The difference is, they moved forward anyway. And then there's consistency, the most underrated skill of all. Success is rarely about one big moment. It's about small actions repeated daily. Reading instead of scrolling. Saving instead of spending. Learning instead of complaining. These habits seem small, but over time, they create massive results. Unfortunately, most people quit too early because they don't see immediate rewards. So how do you break free from this cycle? It starts with awareness. You have to recognize the patterns that are keeping you stuck. Then you need to reprogram your thinking, shift from fear to opportunity, from short-term comfort to long-term vision. Start surrounding yourself with people who think bigger, act smarter, and push you to grow. Limit the noise that distracts you and focus on what truly matters. Take small but consistent action. You don't need to change your life overnight. Start with one habit, one skill, one smart financial decision. Over time, these small changes compound into something powerful. Because at the end of the day, getting rich isn't just about money. It's about becoming the kind of person who can create, manage, and grow it. And that transformation begins in your mind. Now let's go even deeper, because the real difference between those who stay broke and those who build wealth comes down to how they handle discomfort. Most people avoid discomfort at all costs. They avoid hard conversations, challenging work, and uncertain opportunities. But growth lives in discomfort. Every skill you need to build, every risk you need to take, every level you want to reach, it all sits on the other side of things that feel uncomfortable. Wealthy individuals don't run from discomfort, they train themselves to tolerate it. They understand that temporary pain leads to long-term gain. While others are relaxing, they're learning. While others are spending, they're investing. While others are waiting for the right time, they're taking action. Despite uncertainty, this ability to act when it's hard is what separates the 1% from everyone else. Another critical factor is focus. In a world full of distractions, attention has become one of the most valuable assets. Most people scatter their energy, jumping from one idea to another, one trend to the next, never staying consistent long enough to see results. But wealth requires focus. It requires sticking to a path long enough to master it, improve it, and turn it into something meaningful. And here's something most people won't admit. Many people don't actually want to be rich, they just want the lifestyle. They want the cars, the freedom, the status, but they're not willing to become the person required to sustain it. Because real wealth demands discipline, responsibility, patience, and continuous growth. Without these traits, even if someone gets money, they often lose it. There's also the trap of comparison. Social media constantly shows you highlights of other people's lives. Their success, their luxury, their achievements. This creates pressure and frustration. People either feel behind or try to copy what others are doing without understanding the process behind it. But wealth is not built by copying. It's built by understanding principles and applying them consistently in your own journey. Let's talk about opportunity. Most people think opportunities are rare, but in reality, they're everywhere. The problem is, opportunities often come disguised as hard work, risk, or uncertainty. And since most people avoid those things, they miss the very chances that could change their lives. The wealthy train themselves to recognize and act on these moments. Another powerful shift is moving from consumption to creation. Broke people mostly consume content, entertainment, products. Wealthy people focus on creating value, solutions, systems. Creation is what generates income and builds assets. The more value you create, the more opportunities you attract. And then comes the long game. Wealth is not a quick result, it's a process. It's built over years of smart decisions, consistent habits, and continuous learning. But most people quit too early because they expect fast results. They try something for a few weeks or months, don't see immediate success, and give up. Meanwhile, those who stay consistent quietly build momentum, and eventually that momentum turns into massive success. So if you really want to escape the psychology of being broke, you need to shift your identity, your habits, and your environment. Stop thinking like someone who is stuck, and start thinking like someone who is building. Stop reacting to life and start designing it. Because in the end, money is just a result. The real transformation is who you become in the process. And once you change that, everything else follows.